Hey everybody, so you're looking at the Oppo R17 Pro. This phone looks and feels very similar to the OnePlus 6T for obvious reasons, but Oppo has given the R17 Pro enough of its own characteristics and features so that the phone can stand on its own. I used it all day today and I'm really liking it. But first, let's rewind and check out the unboxing. So this packaging, it's very similar to the Oppo Find X. That's good. I think the Find X had a really nice packaging. You know, it's a little bit different from these traditional Chinese phones that come in like a white box. So right here you see you have, that's that Super VOOC charging brick. I did a story on this a couple of weeks ago for Forbes. If you're interested, check it out. It's the world's fastest charging tech. It can top up the Oppo R17 Pro from 0 to 100 in 35 minutes. That's according to the marketing claim. I'm going to put it to the test later. So yeah, the charging brick, it's a little bit thick though, but that's because it has to pump out a lot of current into the phone. So right here you have earbuds. These are, USB-C earbuds because obviously the phone does not have a headphone jack. So over here you have a soft jelly case. And right here, SIM ejector tool. So this pin, it resembles the O in the Oppo logo. It's quite a nice design touch. It's like little things, you know. Okay, and then here you have a quick start guide and some warranty information, and that appears to be it. So there's a fingerprint sensor underneath the display. It's just like the OnePlus 6Ts, I'm pretty sure. Wow, this is a nice looking back. Alright guys, I'm back. So I used this phone all day. Took it out about town, took a lot of photos. My SIM card's in there. It's gonna be my daily driver for at least 2-3 weeks because I really like this phone. So let's talk about this gradient color back first. I honestly think this is one of the best looking backs in a phone I've seen, maybe like top 2 or 3 ever. Yeah, Oppo did not come up with the idea to do gradient coloring. Huawei did it first, but I think Oppo take is better because Huawei's version, it's very shiny and reflective and attracts a lot of fingerprints. Oppo's glass back has this matte coating over it, just like the OnePlus 6T, just like the LG V40. That makes it easier to grip, and also fingerprints doesn't get on it as easily. Look at it, I'm rubbing all over the phone and it still looks pretty clean. So you do have a little bit of a camera bump right here, but other than the camera bump, no complaints at all about this hardware. So even the buttons, the volume rockers, they're quite clicky, satisfying. It's blue on the left, and the power button, it's purple on the right. So the gradient color scheme kind of carries over through all aspects of the phone. Look at the top, I really like this too. So now let's talk specs. You have a 6.4 inch AMOLED panel with 2340 by 1080 resolution, so that's a little bit more than 1080p. It's a very good panel. I have no complaints. I used it out today under the sun and it gets bright enough. I can see it easily under the sun. You have a smaller notch here that houses a selfie camera, 25 megapixel. Snapdragon 710 inside, so not quite as powerful as the 845, but 710 is still very good. And I was playing a lot of games on it, and graphics, you can run Modern Combat 5 at 60 frames per second and the game did not stutter, although the phone heated up quite badly. You have a 3700 milliamp hour battery inside, and as mentioned, this is the fastest charging phone possible. So earlier today, I plugged in the phone with 40% battery at 109, and as you can see here, 10 minutes later at 119, it's already at 76%. And then 10 minutes after that at 129, it's at like 97, 98%. So this phone went from 40% to 98% in 20 minutes. That's insane. So let's talk about the camera system. You have right here a triple camera setup. The main lens is a 12 megapixel shooter with a variable aperture that jumps between f1.5 and f2.4. So much like the Samsung Galaxy S9 and Note 9, the camera shutter aperture will actually open and close depending on how much light source you have. This second lens here, it's a depth sensor, so it's for bokeh shots to tell the difference between a background and a subject. It's 20 megapixel. I think it helps with some lighting information too. And then now this third camera here isn't really a camera, it's a TOF 3D sensor. So what it's used for is to scan an object in 3D or for augmented reality. So right now there's not much use to it. It's a little bit gimmicky, but this is future proofing. Maybe in the future, sometime 2019, hopefully, Oppo will develop apps and software that will take advantage of this lens, and you'll be able to use it to run augmented reality apps or do stuff like virtual close fitting or map out a room using this camera. But right now I just can't find much use for it. Fortunately for Oppo and for consumers, this main camera is awesome. I took it out and about and took a lot of night shots, and photos look really damn good. So you follow Oppo's marketing campaign, you saw that the slogan for this phone is "Seize the Night." So obviously nighttime photography, it's a selling point of this phone. And from my testing, I'd have to say this phone lives up to the hype. So check out this shot in Hong Kong. It looks absolutely stunning. So I took a lot of photos with the R17 Pro side by side with the iPhone XS Max and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, and the Oppo R17 Pro completely held its own. I can't say it's quite absolutely the best camera of the three, but the fact that it does not lose to the other two phones, it's a big win because this is not a flagship phone. Those other two phones sells for like over $1,000 US. This phone, I believe, is priced at 600 euros. So while it's not cheap, it's not that expensive either. This is a mid-high tier phone. And considering the price range, I want to say this camera's nighttime capabilities, it's almost stunning. So what helps is that the R17 Pro has this feature called night mode, which is very similar to the nightscape mode on the OnePlus 6T. So it's just like Huawei's night mode here. Basically, it takes a long exposure shot. So during this timer right here, the phone will probably take 3 to 5 images, and then the AI algorithm will stitch them together to produce a shot that's more well lit all around and just has a little bit more pop to it. Like, it brings out the cloud in this photos. Now conversely, if I take this exact same image using the normal camera without night mode on, you'll see that the image, it's closer to real life, it's a little bit more natural, but it's also a little bit darker. It doesn't pop quite like the night mode right here. So we'll go back to the normal, we'll check out the night. Looks a little bit better on Instagram if it's night mode. So now on top of that, night mode will usually help with exposure. So in these two images right here, you see that the normal shot kind of overexposed the light, it blew it out, but on night mode it's a lot more balanced and you can see the light. But night mode also over processed the image, so it does look a little bit fake, like a typical Huawei photo. So during the day, the camera is also strong, it focuses very fast, the shutter speed is also very fast, color accuracy is good. The phone can detect scenes, so it can tell if you're shooting in a backlight situation or shooting at night. It can recognize like plants and cats, so that means it will use AI algorithms to boost the images a little bit, and I quite like it. It's not as heavy-handed as what Huawei does. Like, again, all the images turn out very nicely. Okay, so I'm gonna stop talking for now and show you some more photo samples. So now in terms of video, the R17 Pro can only shoot videos at 1080p or 4K and both at only 30 frames per second. So that's one of the shortcomings of this phone. You cannot shoot at 4K 60 or even 1080p 60. I'm gonna show you some video clips right now. 1080p video clips turn out very nice, very solid. So now I'm gonna show you 4K footage. It still looks pretty good. You notice the exposure here, it's very well balanced, but there is no stabilization, so the video becomes quite jerky as soon as I start walking. So overall, the R17 Pro's camera is very strong, especially when you compare it to other phones in this price range. So now in terms of software, the R17 Pro runs Color OS 5.2, that's Oppo's Android skin, over Android 8.1. So that's very unfortunate that this phone does not have Android 9, but Color OS is improving by the day. So you have this little shortcut gesture bar right here. I thought this was exclusive to Realme phones, but apparently not. It's going to be in all Oppo phones now, and I quite like it. I like that you're able to just swipe and immediately get shortcut to apps. You can add whatever app you want in here, and you can do like screenshots, screen recording. It just makes the phone a little bit easy to use with one hand, and I think the aesthetic of the phone looks good. You have these little different animations when you swipe between pages on your phone. You still have to swipe from the top to bring down a notification shade, unfortunately, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves. So you have to do this to bring down the shade, but the phone is actually really easy to hold because you know, the bezels are slim. The phone has a grippy back, so it's a lot easier to manage than like say a Samsung Galaxy Note 9. And I almost forgot to talk about the in-display fingerprint reader. So this is, I'm pretty sure, is the exact same tech as the OnePlus 6T sensor. And if you remember my video of that, I said that was one of the best in-display fingerprint reader I've tried, because I basically, when I use in-display fingerprint reader on some other phones like the Vivo Nex or even the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, sometimes I'll get a mistake. Sometimes it won't scan my finger correctly. On the OnePlus 6T and on the Oppo R17 Pro, I have not had a mistake yet. So overall, my impression of this phone is very strong. Now I know that Oppo prices phone at a weird price range because it's 600 euros. So that's basically a little bit more expensive than a OnePlus 6T, even though OnePlus 6T gives you a newer chipset, Snapdragon 845. So you know, that kind of doesn't make sense because the OnePlus 6T is probably a better phone, but it's cheaper. And Oppo and OnePlus are basically they share the same parent company. But you know, that's looking at it from our point of view where we have access to all the brands. If you look at it from a marketer's point of view, so OnePlus is an online brand. I know that if you're into smartphones, you know about OnePlus, but if you're just like an average person on the street, if you're like a 45-year-old auntie living in India or China, you probably don't know about OnePlus. So you're gonna walk into a store and you're gonna ask what's a good phone, and then the store clerk will recommend this phone because it's like $400 or $500 cheaper than a Samsung phone, $400 or $500 cheaper than an iPhone, and they're gonna buy this phone and they're gonna love the phone. There's very, very little flaws with this phone. So if you look at it that way, then that's why Oppo charges this price, because Oppo also sells phones inside a physical store, whereas OnePlus sells online. So when you sell online, you can sell things cheaper. So you can't quite compare pricing between an online brand and an actual physical brand with physical presence. Yeah, so there are a couple of nitpicks: no wireless charging, no waterproofing, and I wish there was better stabilization when I shoot 4K video, but these are minor nitpicks, especially for a phone at this price range. So that's it for now. I'm gonna have at least 2 more videos coming next week because I am going to China for 2 launch events. I'm not gonna mention the brands right now because I don't want to disrespect Oppo, but I have 2 new phones coming very soon and they are exciting flagship phones. So thanks for watching.